He's so low-key and humble that if you don't ask him, he won't tell you. He won't tell you that he won gold at the 1984 Olympics. He won't tell you that he is the only fighter in history to go toe-to-toe with Teofilo Stevenson, Riddick Bowe, Lennox Lewis, and Mike Tyson. And that despite getting in the ring with that murderer's row, the hardest fight of his life was against his own personal demons. He lives with one foot in the present and the other in the past, a past where he stood at the center of the Olympic podium and they announced the name. Tyrell Biggs was born Tyrone Biggs on December 22, 1960. His mother was a special education teacher and his father worked 16 hours a day as a nurse to support the family of 5 children. Biggs's father was also a huge boxing fan who used to take Tyrell to Joe Frazier's gym and watch the heavyweight champion work out. Tyrell would also accompany his father to watch the fights at the Philadelphia Spectrum, seeing legends like Benny Briscoe, Bobby Boogaloo Watts, and Cyclone Hart firsthand. But it was only when Biggs saw the Ali Frazier super fight on closed circuit that he made up his mind to become a boxer himself. His father set up a speed bag and heavy bag in the basement where Biggs would train with his older brother Xavier. Growing to a height of 6'5", Biggs was also a capable basketball player and was the starting forward for a high school team that won 68 straight games. Known to everyone as Bert, none of his classmates, coaches, or teammates knew of his boxing endeavors until they started seeing his face in a newspaper. Upon graduation, Biggs would attend college, majoring in physical education at Hampton University before focusing full-time on boxing. His amateur career would take off, and by 1981, he would win the United States Nationals, and in the following year, he'd win the World Championships in Munich. It was during this time that he would change his first name to Tyrell and become the USA's #1 ranked super heavyweight. But that ranking also meant taking on the seemingly unbeatable Cuban, Teofilo Stevenson, in the USA versus Cuba dual meets. Stevenson had defeated all American fighters placed before him. Biggs said, "Stevenson's a big guy, and when you're big and have skills, that makes it tough to do anything. He had a long reach, and you had to be real cautious about the way you attacked him. The first time I fought him, he broke my ribs. The pain was just too much, and that's how the fight ended. When I fought him the second time, I thought I won that fight, but he got the decision." 4 months later, Biggs would enter the Olympic trials, defeating Mike Williams and then Craig Payne in the box office before making the team. He would then join an elite squad that consisted of Mark Breland, Pernell Whitaker, Mildred Taylor, and Evander Holyfield. Biggs would decision Puerto Rico's Isaac Barrientos before meeting Lennox Lewis in the quarterfinal. Biggs would outpoint the 18-year-old Lewis, and in the finals, he would meet longtime nemesis Francesco Damiani. Biggs would win the gold medal, but would be booed by spectators who didn't approve of his defense-first fighting style. Still, he was part of an American boxing team that would win 11 medals, more than any team in Olympic history. Biggs would return home as a conquering hero and was cheered during a parade for Philadelphia's 1984 Olympians. Biggs was then given the key to the city by Philadelphia's mayor. "I heard people who won gold medals talk about what an indescribable feeling it was," Biggs said. "And it's true. Words can't explain it. That had to be the best feeling I ever had. It's an unbelievable high, man." After the gold medal win, Biggs would sign with the Main Event's promotional team, run by the Duva family and Shelley Finkel. He would be trained by Philadelphia legend George Benton. Biggs, along with 5 other members of the 1984 Olympic team, would all make their professional debuts on November 15, 1984, in Madison Square Garden. The event would be called the Night of Gold. Pernell Whitaker and Evander Holyfield would steal the show with impressive performances, but Biggs would be booed during his bout with Mike Evans, who fought in a defensive shell. The harsh response from fans and critics hurt Biggs on an emotional level. He trained harder than he had ever had in the 6 weeks prior to the bout, but he was faced with an opponent who simply refused to engage. Biggs would then go on a cocaine binge, and a month after the Evans fight, he would check into a 3-week rehab program. I started with marijuana in high school, or maybe it was in junior high, Biggs said. From there, I experimented with cocaine. I think I did it just because I liked doing it. But it does affect you when you're frustrated or disappointed. You're doing whatever you can to make yourself feel better.
Some people were in there with slit wrists where they actually tried to take their own life. And I said, well, I never tried anything like that. When psychologically and mentally, that's what I was, that's what I was doing anyway. I was killing myself just, if not worse, than somebody slitting their wrists. And these are the things that I came in touch with. And that's when I made my mind up. I said, well, I can use this. This is what's going to get me back in order. If I can take these tools that they give you and use them the proper way, I can clean myself up.
After his release from rehab, Biggs would ignore the press for 3 months, as per doctor's orders. He returned to the ring in April of 1985 and began to build his record.
Good left hook by Tyrell Biggs. Another left hook by Biggs. Anthony in trouble in the corner. Biggs trying to put him down. Hits him on top of the head. Wings to the body. And Anthony goes down in the corner. It was a left hook by Tyrell Biggs that jarred Tony Anthony to his shoelaces. And I don't think he's coming out of it.
8, 9, 10.
Over. Right now that you're watching yourself and now that you're still flushed with the victory, I'm a little curious as to the assessment you gave me yesterday. You felt you were pretty much on schedule and you had gained a tremendous amount in the last year. After watching this now and having experienced the win over the biggest man you fought so far outside of the German, how do you feel?
Well, I feel as though, right now I'm a little ahead of schedule because I bet no one in the house would expect me to knock this man out in 1 round. And I know the things that I can do now, and I just let everything manifest itself through my boxing. Because there's been a lot of criticism and a lot of controversy with me and the drug problem and all that and all those things. But now I'm 100% into my boxing and training, and I'm good to go now.
His fighting style was changed to be more crowd-pleasing. He became more stationary and sat down on his punches more. He would defeat the heavyweight gatekeeper James Quick Tillis before stepping up to face his toughest test, a bout against the hard-hitting Jeff Sims. Sims was a convict-turned boxer, threatening Biggs at the weigh-in, but Biggs would not be intimidated.
More at home than he might have felt coming into the fight. Still no punching from Sims.
Good body punch by Jeff Sims. A good right hand, a solid right hand to the body, a low blow. Since Teofilo Stevenson broke Tyrell's rib, there always has been the reputation. He has had the bad rap that he doesn't like it to the body. He took good body punches from Tillis, and he comes out here for some serious body punches from Jeff Sims, smiling. Whether that's at least. Sims will continue to throw him until the referee tells him not to.
All right, we're back in round 4 in Reno, and between rounds there was a fascinating conversation in Tyrell Biggs' corner. The ring doctor watched Biggs very carefully as Lou Duba and George Benton worked with him. Referee Jay Nady was also watching, and at one point Alex Wallow, he said, I can't move my arm. Which arm do you believe it is?
It's the right arm. He's not throwing it. I thought he was using it to protect against the body shots. He's hurt his right arm. He's a one-armed fighter. He's got a long way to go.
We'd like to alert our local stations along the line that coming up at the end of this round, we will be taking a station break.
And you just saw Tyrell Biggs with one hand, the left. He just threw the right for the first time in about 3 rounds. But with the left jab and a left hook, hurt Jeff Sims.
Keep that going. Keep that jab going and keep it missing. You understand?
No problem, man.
Now you can hit this guy with one hand.
He's okay. No problem, Doc. No problem. He's okay.
He's not getting hit. He's not getting hurt.
No.
He ain't no pain, Doc.
He's okay. He's okay, Doc. No problem, Doc. Break it? No. Doc, he's okay. No kidding. He's all right. No problem. Keep that jab going.
He is regaining increasing confidence in the left jab, with which he dominated round one. The crowd is responding favorably. They know that Tyrell Biggs is demonstrating some heart and some courage here.
I happen to think he's also demonstrating a bad tactic right here. A lot of that movement is empty movement. I'm not saying he should stand in front of Jeff Sims and let Sims sharpshoot. But all of this bouncing is very tiring to a man who's in his first 10-round fight. He doesn't have to move that much to land that right, that left jab.
And Biggs was one of the leaders of the group. An intelligent young man, grew up in Philadelphia. Father used to take him to fights when he was a boy. He was a basketball player, became a boxing fan, and then a boxer. Sims misses.
The difference between the pep talks between this round and the earlier rounds is this time Lou Duba and George Benton believe what they were saying. He really is doing a beautiful, beautiful job. They weren't just looking to build up his confidence. They were telling him what the way it was.
There he got him on the ropes for a moment, but Tyrell came off and smiled.
And also backed him up. I just can't tell you how much this is going to do for Tyrell Biggs' mind. The fact that he was able to lay there in the ropes, take some heavy punches, and then have the strength to back off and ox like Jeff Sims. When he looks at these films, I think he's going to be a much better professional fighter.
This is a man who was booed in winning an Olympic gold medal, perceived as being gutless and unaggressive. Either the fans were wrong or he's come a long, long way. Now he's getting pinned against the ropes.
But he stood nicely and tried to fight, which is exactly what he should do when he's fighting back.
And he threw another right hand in that exchange. Maybe he's getting so excited now that it doesn't hurt quite as much.
I think you're exactly right. Tyrell Biggs has demonstrated with this fight, perhaps that is true, and perhaps he does belong.
Still fighting back off the ropes. He made it. Tyrell Biggs has finished 10 rounds against a very dangerous puncher. 8 of those rounds spent with the right hand pinned to his body by an apparent shoulder injury, and unless I am badly mistaken, he has won this fight.
Like a jab you put out there.
Judge John McSwinney scores it 97-93. Judge Keith McDonald scores it 99-92. For the winner, and still undefeated, Tyrell Biggs.
It was later revealed that Biggs had fought with a broken collarbone from round 3 on. Proving he was a fighter with a high pain threshold, Biggs had silenced his critics. Biggs would return to Madison Square Garden 2 years after his debut for his next test, the wild and unpredictable Renaldo Snipes.
Like Snipes wants to try and take him out in a hurry. Meanwhile, Biggs not afraid to answer right back. Advise Biggs not to use any amateurish movements against this guy because Snipes knows how to take a guy out of there. Big right hand again. A couple of nice left hooks scored by Tyrell. Professional fight. Now, this is a real tough opponent for Tyrell Biggs. If he gets by Snipes, he could be on his way well up the rankings. And this is a big test for him, a big step up in class. Good right hand landed that time. Snipes just really loading up. 3 round. Now Biggs comes back with a shot of his own. Oh, a right hand catches Snipes, and down he goes. A look of disgust on the face of Renaldo Snipes. He's really annoyed. Counts up the weight. The right hand caught him. And it caught him flush. The bell ends the round. And Snipes looks like he is showing the first signs of arm weariness. Biggs still looks totally fresh. Nice crisp right hand landed by Biggs. Another right hand. Now Biggs has Snipes backing up now. That one just grazed past the chin of Biggs. No real damage done at all. Nice right hand scored that time, but Biggs able to absorb it. Comes right back with a right of his own. Inside. Don't forget, Biggs has 3 inches in height. Only a ½ pound in weight. Nice right hand scored that time by Biggs. It's a better round for Biggs now. Nice crisp left hand that time by Biggs. Snipes showing a lot of heart, I'm telling you. Lands the right hand, lands the left hook. Biggs does a nice job covering up to the body. Snipes almost tumbled that time. Good body shots, good right hand. Snipes looks like he's ready to go.
Start snapping those jabs. Come on, you're doing beautiful out there. Come on, you got to keep them out. Keep that jab going. Out hustle this guy. Don't let him out hustle. Come on,
Tyrell Biggs, in spite of whatever happens, is getting some experience. He's going to school with this guy. No matter who wins it, both guys fighting their hearts out. He didn't come into this fight with the idea that he was put in here as cannon fodder for new up-and-coming heavyweight. He's fought his heart out throughout. A nice finish to the fight.
But in points, scored it 6-5 for the winner by unanimous decision. And his 13th straight win in as many pro bouts, Big Tyrell Biggs.
3 months later, he would have a rough go early against David Bay, as it was apparent that his new fighting style wasn't a good fit for his physical attributes. At his best, Biggs was a stick and mover, relying on a jab for offense and his legs to get out of trouble. But he remained stationary against Bay, allowing the veteran to rake him with hooks and crosses before he rallied to take out his opponent in the 6th. Now 3 years into his pro career, there would be no more time for adjustments, as he would be matched against Mike Tyson. Biggs' manager Lou Duva said, "Biggs and Tyson will be the Ali-Frazier rivalry of the 80s. They're on a collision course just like Ali and Frazier were." But as the fight date neared, Duva would go from hype to trash talk, calling Tyson an overhyped fraud that Biggs would expose. Biggs himself went out of character, disparaging Tyson's ability, and when Tyson entered the ring, he really wanted to make Biggs suffer. loss would seem to drain Biggs of whatever confidence he had remaining, but Biggs insisted that it wasn't the loss to Tyson or his cocaine use that dropped him from the ranks of the top heavyweights. Losing like I did really put a damper on me psychologically, Biggs said. I wasn't doing hard drugs anymore, but I was binging on other things. I'd binge on sex. When you have money, and I made a lot of money to fight Tyson, of course that's going to attract women. I also binged on food, on certain candy bars. I'd go into the store and buy 3 of them. Then I'd go back and buy 3 more. Next trip, I'd buy a whole box. Biggs would take a year to recover from the Tyson loss, before finally returning to face longtime amateur rival Francesco Damiani. Damiani was 21-0, and the fight would take place in his native Italy. Biggs would be stopped in the 5th because of a cut eye. The loss once again seemed to have a negative effect on Biggs, as he would take off another entire year before returning to the ring, this time against Gary Mason, a 31-0 knockout artist out of London. Biggs offered no excuses for the losses. He did get back on the winning track, defeating journeyman Bobby Crabtree and decisioning longtime veteran OSSIE OCASIO. But in 1991, he was reduced to being a gatekeeper, facing the up-and-coming Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis back-to-back. I just came up short, Biggs said. Those are fights I feel I should have won. I just came up short. That happens. They were both very good fighters. Now, with his days as a contender long behind him, Biggs would toil in the sport for another 7 years before calling it quits at age 37. I know some people won't believe this, but I don't even go to fights no more, Biggs said. I was never one to get in the ring and take a bow after I finished fighting. Some guys, they eat that stuff up. I'm not that way. Sometimes you just gotta let go. Clean and sober, Biggs now spends his days teaching the sweet science to kids at the Haddington Recreation Center. It was nice being on top, or around the top, but you can't get too down when you begin to fall, Biggs said. When I go to meetings for recovering addicts, I hear people say, "Poor me, I used to have this and that and now I don't." But you know what? You can't dwell on that too much. I've learned to take whatever's in front of me and to deal with it. The things I've done, I know they're going to stand. I'm the first Olympic super heavyweight champion. No one can ever take that away from me. It was all grand and wonderful.